or whatever before benching, and you go through all the benching. And
before benching, yes.
Amen.
And after you bench and you forgot to say the bracha Hana on those things, do you say a B'rei Nefeshos, or does the benching, like, is it just like a missed opportunity, or because I don't know if someone asked that last time.
So, ala michya is covered by benching.
Right.
Ala gefen is covered by benching. Ala eitz on dates is also covered by benching, because dates, the Gemara says, is a filling food. But other brachas achronos are not covered by benching, even b'diavad. It means if you had an obligation to say B'rei Nefashos before you started eating, based on whatever you ate, or ala eitz, another fruit, all of those things, if you remembered after benching, you would still go back and say B'rei Nefashos and or an ala eitz.
Oh, after benching too?
Okay.
It's
Cool.
Hidush.
Was it like this?
I thought b'diavad those are covered by benching.
No, the whole saying B'rei Nefashos before you, if you're having B'rei Nefashos and now you want to start a motzi, it's a machlokes if you should say that, right? I saw it. I'm pretty sure I just learned it recently.
Oh, Rabbi said if
Or so if you said it. I mean, maybe according to the
No.
Shita, is that oh,
talk about something
Those are
else.
foods that you're eating leading up to the meal. Those are if you're having kiddush and you're having some, like people do before they start the meal.
right?
But if it's not connected to the meal, it's not a snack. Nobody says not to say B'rei Nefashos.
So
It's if you're
I saw it within the opinion of Kiddush.
you store in the context of having a little snack as a starter for the meal, or the kiddush, which is also connected to the meal.
And then we do
That's down.
Birkat Hamazon, and after that we do Nefashot.
No. Chatchila, you say nefashot before you start,
If you didn't say.
or even in the middle. But b'diavad, you have to say it after.
If you didn't say, so after Birkat Hamazon, you do Nefashot.
Yeah.
The Chidush, right?
There's no one who.
I don't want to say no one. There's so many things in the world, but I haven't seen it.
Meaning because you're 100% chayav in the bracha for the B'rei Nefashos. Now that you benched, who cares if you benched? You're still chayav in the bracha. Meaning the end of the Birkat Hamazon does not cover.
Exactly. It's a separate bracha. It doesn't cover it. The only reason it covers the things in the benching is because
What we're saying.
the only reason it covers foods that were not tafel, with hamotzi in the benching, is because they contributed to the svia of that meal, so they're part of the meal.
Once it was set secluded before.
It's a different meal, then it's not included in that svia.
Before eating, before Motzi.
So
Then
I actually
you
have
do
a friend just asking this
Motzi,
question recently.
and you.
So in the case of, let's say his wife is preparing a meal.
Yep.
Before his wife's preparing the meal, so he wants to eat, like while she's still preparing, he goes to the kitchen and like snacks on this and snacks on this, right before she's about to serve the meal. So it sounds like it's a case of him snacking for a meal. It's not leading up to the meal, he just wants to.
That's what it sounds like. He's a bit hungry, so he just wants a chapa bite. That's what it sounds like.
So you would make a bracha.
I think so, yeah.
But if it's an appetizer, and the food that's included in the
Correct. Appetizer is included. Not in the moit. If you had it after the hamotzi, it's included in the hamotzi. Even if you had it before, it can be included in the hamotzi before you made hamotzi, but it can be included in the Birchos Hamazon. Be included in the benching after.
the bench.
Because they thought it's like the snack before.
Something like in Seder, which we have to keep. So after the bracha,
Sudah Shlishit, most people don't do Kiddush. Some do it, but you don't have to.
after the most starting glass of wine, and he says, "What do you break the coffee?"
Absolutely.
After
You're
that-
supposed to, according to the Rambam, by the way.
No.
Rambam says, "Tzorch lekvoya kol echad mishloshten al hayayin." You have to have one by every one of the three meals, not for Kiddush, for the enjoyment of the meal. It's done. Go ahead.
So the davening is gonna taking part of the bracha, Rishana from Haggadah.
What do you mean the davening?
And from the Birchos.
The bracha achrona.
Right.
Yeah. Like whenever you have wine during the meal, anytime you have wine during the meal, the Birchos Hamazon covered. Sure.
Rabbi, who
Yeah.
brought down that opinion that if you're you should say shachal on something else for the coffee or tea?
I'm looking at it in the Sefer of Birchos by Rabbi Bodner, and he is quoting it in the name of the Aruch HaShulchan and the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah writes it about coffee, and the Aruch HaShulchan writes it about tea.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, yes.
If you look at wine tasting, I got from the first go. 40 bottles to go, and every bottle is more expensive.
Is that how it is? Every bottle is more expensive than one before?
Sometimes they go in one order, they order by each.
No, I would love to be invited to one of those.
You want?
Like, so about 18, 40
Very good, that makes once a year.
Ah, yeah.
all that's very good. Very, very nice.
So what's your question?
So
The question is about a wine tasting where you have many different types of wine and you're getting to the more and more expensive types. Yes, what's the question?
So you get all the beer.
We're gonna be learning about that?
I think Alter Rebbe has about a Teva Meitav. Yeah, we'll get to that. Get to that.
The other one, the exact procedure, let's say you go, you want to eat a little bit pizza. You start is a small piece, I guess, say the sawmill, but then, I don't know, if you want to keep eating, then we're on the second slide, it's about,
Someone makes us.
Unless it's made with apple juice.
yeah, it's sawmill, I mean, without.
Yeah.
Then you're going to the third slide already, you're hungry.
You're on thin ice. Go ahead.
Okay, so what, exactly, what should you do? Stop, wash, say, motzi, going, or what's the correct procedure? You wanna keep-
So according to the Alter Rebbe, I'll just repeat the question. I mean, we discussed it, but I'll answer, review it. So actually, let's see who remembers from the class. I'll repeat the question. If anybody remembers, they can share with us. Person is in the middle of eating some Zoina's pizza, and he's approaching the point of satisfaction. At which point, according to the Alter Rebbe, it could become a moitzi, perhaps even on its own, if you have 4 slices. 4 eggs worth. But he only said mazoinus. So what do you do at that point? When you realize you're approaching that point, what do you do? And then
Stop.
Stop eating.
Stop
You say
eating.
Hamaitzi.
But you're hungry.
That wasn't one of the options.
You say
You're
Hamaitzi.
hungry. Say Hamaitzi just like that?
Well, you wash your hands and you do the whole ritual.
At this point, I think you have to say Baruch HaShoina, no?
I think Benji's right.
What did Benji say?
He said you wash your hands and say motzi and keep eating.
What about Alamichya?
Exactly. You have to say Baal Abichya, no?
Moshe is
No.
correct. You first say Alamichya,
Oh.
because whatever you had until now is something else. Then you say, then you wash. And then, in order to be able to say Hamoitzi, according to the Alter Rebbe, you're going to have to eat another 4 eggs worth,
For Kabetzim.
4 kibetzim, plus be satisfied. The satisfaction can come from before also, but the 4 eggs worth has to be now. If you're going to be satisfied, but in the second round, you're not going to have 4 eggs worth, you have to grab another piece of bread from somewhere else, for sure bread. That was the opinion of the Alter Rebbe. There's no easy answer. If you were looking for an easy answer, there's no easy answer. That's what it is.
I know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
From what I remember,
Yeah.
somebody says, this is a long time ago that I learned this,
Yeah.
that he should wash his hands without a bracha. So no after bracha, meaning no al-mechia.
Yeah.
Wash his hands without a bracha because the al-mechia tonight should only be said if he's going to have another shear. He's probably not going to have another shear just now that he's in a suffix that he was about to hit 216. So you wash your hands as soon as you find out without a bracha, and then
That is correct. I don't actually remember. Thank you very much. I don't actually remember what he says about washing your hands.
Trying to bring more
No.
students.
From Meyer, you should come.
Ah,
So the Yaakov Yosef says that you no, it's okay.
well, I don't know what
Okay. Yaakov Yosef says you don't say another bracha, neither mezainis or hamoitzi.
didn't say that.
You just say benching afterwards. The Mishnah Berurah had a big chiddush, if you remember.
You wash your hands immediately.
I don't remember that. If you say so,
You wash your
then
hands, and I'm pretty sure the killuk was if you're going to, this year, 216 grams it says, then you make none, if not.
okay.
I learned that.
It's like just one slice. I think it would be like that.
If it's made with flour and water, the Alter Rebbe and the Mishnah Berurah say you have to make a motzi. The Moshe Feinstein says you can say mezainis, but according to the Alter Rebbe, you have to make a motzi because cheese is not a filling that makes it passable b'kisna. Cheese is a satisfying filling, as opposed to chocolate and fruit and all that, which is a snack kind of filling. So that's in general. Amen. So, but according to the Alter Rebbe, so according to the Taz and the Rav Moshe Pascha is like that, you could say mezainis, unless you eat a shear that you have to wash. The Mishnah Berurah's chiddush was, when you realize you're coming to that point, you have to make mezainis. Yes, you did. But when you started, you certainly weren't planning to get to that point. Because if you had been planning on it, you would have made a moitzi. The fact that you made mezainis means you weren't planning to eat more than that. So it's like a Hesech Hada. It's like you're only planning up to that point. Now that you reach that point, like Baruch doesn't cover you anymore. But you're not going to eat enough in the second time around of a shear on its own to make it hamoitzi. So it's still mezainis. It's like a half shear in each one.
You don't do an after blessing before.
No, you don't need to do it after blessing. He says, you just say the benching after both, and it'll cover.
You also shouldn't say al-mechia,
No, it doesn't say al-mechia.
because it's a motzi.
Because the shear together of both is going to make it a moitzi.
What if you realize already after eating? So that would only work if you were before the shear. What's a shear?
I mean, it's the shear is 4 beitzim is already a suffix, but if it's shear shachem koivim alone, a shear that people consider to be a meal. A lot of poskim say that 4 beitzim is that shear nowadays.
It's only 6 is a suffix and 216 is a body.
Okay.
216 include 4 times 54, right? 416. So why wouldn't, that's only the case if you're before the 4 beitzim. If you're after the 4 beitzim, so you'd be chayav in Birchos Muslim.
So what's your question?
So if he catch himself after that, let's say he caught himself at 220.
Yeah.
So according to the Mishnah Berurah, that pretty much the beginning bracha goes to naught because you just were megala that you wanted to have a suda, and you really should have been a motzi. So now that your new mazonos is fine, let's say, but you still have to make hamotzi. B'diavad, you just ate 220 grams. Okay, b'diavad, you still have to do it.
What are you going to? Of course, you say Birchos Hamazon. What's the question? What's the question?
Before starting your mazonos, obviously.
What do you mean? You realize after 220, and now you want to eat more? Is that your question?
That was my scenario, but I was suggesting that maybe before you make your new mazonos, you should make.
Well, you're still
What's he
eating.
gonna make? No, instead of making another. Well, why? You're chayav Birchos Hamazon right now.
You're still eating. Why are you having Birchos Hamazon? You're still eating.
No, but you said he's gonna make 12 amichia, or 1 amichia then.
One Mechid, it's going to
Why
cover
does
you
he make
for
Birchos Hamazon?
No. One Mechid. I said one Mechid. No, one Birchos Hamazon.
Oh, he's gonna make
No, one Birchos Hamazon,
okay.
of course. In the end, if you have the shear, you have to make Birchos Hamazon.
Yeah.
Whole chiddush is that even though it's going to be Birchos Hamazon, and even though you're not making a moitzi, you still say another mazonos, because it's like the mazonos expired.
We haven't already done that after the mazonos.
Yeah.
His mind went back to the hamotzi. So why does it?
What do you mean his mind went back to the
You're
moitzi?
saying he was megala that you should have made a hamotzi.
No. When he started, he was not.
Once he ate 220.
Okay, but he at the time he didn't think he was going to eat that much. By mistake, he
So
did.
you make mazonos on hamotzi, it's b'diavad fine. You don't make a bracha. I want to make another bracha.
If you make mazonos on moitzi, it's a machlokes. It's machlokes. So what are you saying? Now that he ate it,
I think the Mishnah Berurah holds that was that. Mishnah Berurah, mazonos covers everything. But
some Rishonim hold it covers everything.
I'm pretty sure the Mishnah Berurah.
He brings those shittas as a tziruf by rice. I don't know if he holds it. I don't think he holds.
I thought that was where I learned it.
No, that's what he quotes it. But I don't think he doesn't quote it as a psak gomer. Quotes it as a sniff.
Mazonos on anything? Or
Yeah.
mazonos on what's he down?
No, mazonos on anything. The some Rishonim. There's a separate machlokes about mazonos covering hamoitzi. So that's like maybe it's a sveka. You could argue, but yeah. So what are you saying? That now that he already had the shear, if he wants to continue eating, so now it's already hamoitzi, so he shouldn't say mazonos because it's already become bread, and mazonos covers bread. So you shouldn't say anything. You're saying, if he remembers at that point.
By saying the song, it will cancel out. It will cancel out until they do it. So those pieces won't be when we come towards the mochi.
Well, one second. One at a time. So here's what I'm thinking. I don't know if you guys could hear the discussion here, so I'll just fill you in on it. I said that according to Mishnah Berurah, you say mezonos again when you realize you're approaching the point of 4 kibetzim, and then you say Birchos Hamazon afterwards. Rafael is asking if you remembered after you ate the amount of 4 beitzim, at which point your meal becomes a hamoitzi meal. Since mezonos covers hamoitzi, b'diavad, maybe at that point you shouldn't make any bracha if you want to continue. Is that your question? Okay, so I'm not sure that that's correct. I'm not sure. My thought is the Mishnah Berurah is looking at it from the following perspective. In order to make hamoitzi, it's not that the total meal you're eating is that shear, but it's that the amount that you're going to eat is that shear. You know what I'm saying?
The beginning.
In other words, when you're at the point of right before 4 kibbutz, Mishnah Berurah says you don't say hamoitzi, even though in 1 more bite or 2 more bites, the meal is going to be a hamoitzi meal, but because you're not eating that shear right now, the bread that's left doesn't have the chashivas of hamoitzi. In hindsight, your meal is a hamoitzi meal, but the bread that the cake you're going to eat now is not considered hamoitzi. So therefore, even in the case where you already ate 4 beitzim, so that should have been hamoitzi, you're right. But what you're eating now should not be hamoitzi. What you're eating now should still be mazonos, because right now.
No, I'm saying because really you should have said a motzi. Really, you should have said.
Oh, so it's like you said Mazonis on Hamoitzi is what you're saying. It's like you said Mazonis on Hamoitzi before. That's another svara. I didn't realize you were saying
Then
that.
it just drives it.
That's another svara. Now that you've made it into Hamoitzi,
Right bracha for the next bracha.
now that you've made it into Hamoitzi, so maybe Mafreya should be covered. I don't know. I didn't see clearly what the Mishnah Berurah says about that case, so I'm not sure. Something to think about. Yes, sorry.
I was thinking about he decides after 2 slices, he will complete with me. So by saying the science, he will cancel out those 2 slices that he only ate. And then
How do you cancel that out?
it doesn't.
So you only cancel out what you ate with an alam, with a burn of flushes. With an after bracha, you don't cancel out with a new bracha Rishona.
No, but he already said Rishona. Rishona, he was to start the first slice. He said he said Rishona.
Yeah.
And then after that, can I say the what will be a Hanehenin?
Alam Mechia.
So there will be a Harona, therefore it's canceling out those 2 pieces.
Yeah, but he shouldn't say Alam Mechia because he's not finished eating. Why should he say Alam Mechia if he's not finished eating? According to the Alter Rebbe, you say Alam Mechia, and you actually have to make a little hefsek. I forgot to say. You have to make a little hefsek. This is important, Benji. Whoever's asking the question. Emmanuel, I mean. You have to make a little hefsek. You make Alam Mechia, you wait 10 minutes, because you can't make an after bracha and then continue eating right away. That's an unnecessary bracha. What do you mean you're finished eating? You're not finished eating. So you have to wait 10 minutes and then continue. So, but if you're just going to eat straight, you can't make it Alam Mechia.
Fritzel.
No. He starts with Mazoinus. He realizes in the middle that he's reaching the point that it's becoming Hamoitzi. So we have different opinions. If you have to stop, say Alam Mechia, wait and stay Hamoitzi, according to the Alter Rebbe, or you can just say Mazoinus on the rest. But either way, you say benching after.
Right, it's a pretzel, right?
Talking about pizza. He's talking about pizza.
It's also too.
Doesn't make a difference. Right?
Doesn't make a difference. I don't know anybody who eats enough pretzels to make a meal out of it. If you want it, b'vakasha.
So it's a pizza?
Doesn't make a difference. Hasabah b'kisna. Cake,
Maybe those soft
cookies.
pretzels.
Yeah, whatever. Pretzels could be.
Why are those soft pretzels examples?
It's not so clear that they are. Some say that they're actually not, that they're hamoitzi.
It's a star for tongues.
So it is that people make them as a snack. They're expected to be eaten as a snack. Even though the tsura of the bread is the texture, it doesn't fall into any of the categories of possible b'kisna. So it's a hard svara, but that's the svara. You know what? It is a svara that is actually brought in the Maimer Mordechai, I'm remembering. Maimer Mordechai, which is a svara mechudeshes that other places don't agree with, Maimer Mordechai says that there is no machlokes between the 3 shittas about Pasah B'Kisnin. Because whether Pasah B'Kisnin is something filled or something with other liquids or something, each one will give you the next. His point is, they're just giving examples. They're just giving examples in his opinion. Because the whole point is any bread that's not eaten as a regular food, but rather as a snack food, is not bread. It's Pasah B'Kisnin. Each one gave an example. That's all. No. My Mordechai is an Achron, and the Mordechai is a Rishon in the back of the Gemara. I don't know anything about the Maimer Mordechai other than the fact that he wrote the Maimer Mordechai. And he's quoted in the Mishnah Berurah, so obviously he's a big person. But that's a Svar Mechudeshes. Other poskim don't agree with him because everybody's discussing about Suffolk. What if you're eating it for dessert? You make alamich, you make mazoinus, maybe it's hamoitzi. You know what I'm saying? From that whole discussion, you see that they don't agree that it's not a machlokes.
And even those Rishonim, before, they were Rishonim, they also discussed the other situations?
They did not discuss it. No, they did not discuss it. I mean, the Rambam just brings what it means. What is possible? Because each one brings what it means. They don't discuss the other opinions. Not in the Rishon. Not in the source, I'm saying, those three sources. Okay. Time to continue, my friends. Perek Chamishi. Perek Chamishi is about Hesech Hadas from eating. Hesech Hadas from eating. אין לך את הפרק? שולחן ערוך הרב, אין לך?
צריך.
קנית את זה פעם, לא?
יכול להיות?
You got it, friend, no? You got it, friend, no?
יש לה, יש לי את
שולחן ערוך הרב חלק א'.
Yeah.
אל תראה שולחן ערוך חלק א', you bought it, friend, no?
יש לי? אז לא הבאת אותו? הבאתי את שתי אלה במקום טעות.
אני לומד מפה, אבל רק את ההלכה, לא את הפירוש פה.
אוקיי.
מבין? הלכה א', הלכה ג', ב', אתה רואה?
אוקיי. בעזרת השם.
Okay, so we're learning about, hope you guys don't mind the background noise. It's a very busy season now for Simchas, Baruch Hashem. Okay, Gomer Beliba Shalelach Lishtes. A person who decided not to eat or drink anymore. Right? I had enough cookies, I speak. I had enough coffee, not quite. And then he changed his mind. He always has to make another bracha.
Also, if he did not give nefashot yet?
Correct, absolutely.
Where are we?
I'm in Parakeh. I just started the 5th chapter. I sent out a handout just before.
Thank
Completely
you.
forgot about doing it earlier, but I hope you all got it. Yeah, you got it?
I have the safer.
Yeah, the paper, excellent. So, sorry? Parakeh. Halacha Aleph. So a person is eating or drinking, and then he decided that he's finished. He didn't say anything. He didn't go anywhere. Nothing. He just decided that he's actually sticking to his diet. Today is not even verbally. He just decided today he's finished. Must be. And then he changed his mind. Didn't say any after bracha yet. If a person says an after bracha and then he wants to eat, there's no question that he has to make another bracha. Because an after bracha is the most extreme form of Hesech Hadas. What does after bracha mean? Thank you, Hashem. I'm finished. Thank you very much. That's it. So then it goes without saying you have to make another bracha. Here he didn't make the after bracha yet. Nevertheless, as soon as he decided that he's finished, Hesech Hadas is a hefsek. It's like an interruption. And he has to make another bracha.
What does Nimlach Zakuk mean?
Zakuk means it's necessary. Lachzer to go back or to continue. Levorach and make a bracha. All right?
Thank you.
So the truth is that in the context of a meal, we're going to see there is something called the das balabayas, that the guests generally accept the position of the balabayas, of the host. And even if they decide that they're finished, they don't really mean it until the balabayas says we're finished. Unless he's planning to leave early, that's something else. If he's planning to sit there until benching, even if he decides he's not eating anymore, Balabais brings something else, it's understood that he really had in mind to go with the Balabais. So if your mother-in-law is the Balata Bayit, and you're eating by her, it's the same. But if she's in your house and she's telling you what to do, that's another story. That's your house. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're going to learn about a Su'udah soon anyway, because a Su'udah is something else. But yeah, that's what it is. Chutz mi b'seuda, besides a meal. Okay, so basically, what we learn about in the first two lines, Alter Rebbe just kind of says it in two lines, applies to everything but a meal. So you're having a snack, even a filling snack like a cookie, it's just a snack. So when you're finished, you're finished. Because what is a snack? A snack means you're just eating a little bit. Okay, you decided you're finished, you're finished. Chutz mi b'seuda, besides a meal. Even if you decided in your heart that you're not eating anymore, that is not considered a siluk and Hesech Hada. It's not considered like you're for sure finished. One second, because it is usual for people to be drawn from one eating to the next. That happens sometimes, that you start with a small meal, and then it drags you into a big meal because you realize that you're hungry. Yeah.
We're talking about emotzi, and then he's little by little and thinking it's the time.
That's actually a good question. When the Alter Rebbe says Seuda, does he mean a meal or does he mean hamotzi? So I saw in the Ketzos HaShulchan, he says that it has to be a meal with bread. But the Mishnah Berurah does not write that it has to be bread. It seems that according to the Mishnah Berurah, it means when you sit down for breakfast or lunch or supper, as opposed to a snack. Whether your breakfast is lasagna or whatever it is, as long as it's a meal. So then it's included in this category. Okay. Ve'ein nimlach zoykik bracha b'seuda elam kin b'shor shebeach hamoitzi le'haya le'ya lema'at lechem v'lo yehaya yedei klal b'shas bracha sheyeh le'yoseh achar kach nas lo yoseh afil achar kach nimlach v'kana min ha'shuka lechem am yesh lechem b'beis v'chor lechatich lechem yoseh avach kach roitz lach techoyde ez nimlach sh'dach al-mukim. Okay, there's only one exception to the rule, my friend, says the Alter Rebbe, of the meal not drawing, a small meal not drawing into a bigger meal. One exception. By the way, this whole chiddush is a machlokes, so have it in your mind that there's another opinion coming up soon. This concept that it's normal to go from a small meal to a big meal and deciding that you're finished, it doesn't really mean it. That's a machlokes. These few se'ifim are all the first opinion. We're going to get to the second opinion soon. But as far as the first opinion, the only way that a meal is considered that you're finished the Hesech Hada is if when you started the meal, in your whole house, you only had a small amount of bread. Didn't have more bread. So it wasn't even possible to go from one thing to the next because that's all you had. And then somebody brought something else to eat in a place, by the way, where it's not usual for neighbors to come over with stuff, stam, because we said last time, that in a place where people normally give gifts of food to the neighbors, it's not considered something unexpected. It's expected. Okay, but nowadays in most places it's not expected. So if somebody brings it to you unexpectedly, or for that matter, even if you decide that I'm going to go buy more, I'm going to send somebody to buy more, I'm going to call Uber Eats, whatever it is. The fact is you're introducing new food that you didn't have in the house, then it's definitely considered Hesech Hada. That's something new, and you for sure have to make the bracha. Even if you decided it, by the way, before you were eating what you had. You had 2 slices of bread. You thought that was it. After one slice, somebody brings in more. You weren't expecting it. Or after one slice, you realize, it's not going to be enough. I'm going to call somebody to get me. Because when you made the bracha, that bracha only was supposed to cover 2 slices. Anything after 2 slices to make a bracha. Whether or not you decide before you finish the 2 slices or after, once you finish 2 slices to make another bracha. That's a chiddush. Another Hamaitzi. Stop benching. You're continuing to eat. No reason to bench. You say another Hamaitzi. Now, if you only have side dishes coming, no Hamaitzi, you say bracha on the side dishes. Because they're not tafel, because you didn't have them in mind. You said that before. Tafel is only covered by something that is expected when you said the bracha on the ikar. Here it's not expected. So you'd say the bracha on them separately. However, the Alter Rebbe says, if you have in your house food, even though before you started the meal, you said portion control. I'm cutting 2 pieces of bread, I'm putting it on the table, a little bit of salad, a little bit of whatever. That's my lunch. It doesn't work that way. That's what you thought your lunch was. But then you decided something else. Whatever, you remembered something else. All covered. The only case is when that's all you had in your house. Then you make another bracha on the next thing. So far, so good? All right, here we go. You all clear there? Benji, Chamaran, Daniel, Moshe?
Yep.
Very good. Not sure where David went. Okay. So to other foods. And he knows that at the time of Hamoitzi, he had no intention about them at all. Yeah? So now we're not talking about more bread. We're talking about other side dishes, other foods. He made Hamoitzi. He had no intention to have other foods. Sorry, one more time. Just like we said in Aleph, that if other bread is brought in from the outside that you were not expecting at all, you make another bracha. Same thing, he says in Beis, if other foods that you were not expecting at all come in the middle of the meal. Now, we said yesterday, or last time, that the place where people normally share in the middle of the meal, fine, that's considered included. But in a place they don't, you would have to make a bracha on that, even if you're still eating your bread, which you were expecting to eat. I said this last week. When you say bracha on moitzi, you're covering your stuff and your refrigerator, whatever you might decide to bring, fine, all good. But not what somebody brings in from outside. Even while you're still eating the hamoitzi, you understand? Because that's a tafel that was not included in your thoughts when you made the ikar, unless it's a place where that's a normal thing for people to bring. So that's what he's repeating here. Okay, here's a big chiddush, my friends. This is a big chiddush. So, we know that changing a location is considered a Hesech Hada for some foods, right? Like Bar Nefashos foods. Basically, for sure, for Bar Nefashos foods. We're not sure about the Ein Shalosh foods, Ala Michya, whatever, that's machlokes. But for sure not for benching. Benching is a bracha you have to make where you started. So as such, you're connected to the place where you started. And even if you change your location, you're considered connected to the first location. And therefore, you don't make another bracha in the next place. We're going to learn that. There's a whole section of that. So here, we're going to learn something different than that. Here we learn that if you had a Hesech Hada in the middle of your meal, and then you change location, then you have to make another bracha rishona. Why? Not because of the change of location. Change of location on a suda, a bread suda, is not enough to have to necessitate you to make another bracha. Maybe you should have changed location, maybe not. That's a separate issue. Maybe you shouldn't have done it. Once it's done, you don't have to make another bracha usually. However, the Hesech Hada from eating, the reason it's not effective usually by a Suda is that it's normal in the middle of a meal to change your mind and decide to continue eating. That's only true in the same place. When you're eating, more stuff, look around, eat more. But when you finish eating and you change location, it's not normal to say, oh, what? I'm going to continue eating. You didn't bench. But that's like, you mamish finished eating. Finished, you left. That's it, you're done. It's not normal to then change your mind and say, oh, I want to eat more. So it's not really the change of location. Because if you would have changed location without Hesech Hada, you wouldn't make a bracha. It's the fact that you changed location after you decided you're finished, that means you're really finished. And then you would have to make another bracha if you decide to eat. Actually, yeah, lachatchila, you're supposed to bench before you leave, unless you had in mind when you washed that you're going to leave in the middle. Otherwise, you should have benched before you left. That's correct. We're going to learn about that. That is correct. But if you didn't, for some reason, and you already left, wouldn't have to make. Unless you're going, by the way, if you're going for a mitzvah, you don't have to. If you're going to daven with a minyan, whatever, for a minyan, you don't have to. But usually, yes. Usually, before you leave, you're supposed to bench. Okay. Gimel. All of this is about eating. When it comes to drinking, if he decided that he doesn't want to drink anymore, then he changes his mind, he has to make another bracha. Okay, 1 second, before we continue. So in other words, the whole concept of being drawn from a small meal to a big meal is only true about eating, not about drinking, even if you're drinking during the meal. The drinking that you're drinking during the meal, if you decide that you're finished, you're finished. And if you change your mind, you have to make another bracha. I mean, this is not a usual thing. Usually when a person decides he's finished, he's finished. He doesn't decide just about drinking. It's usually all or nothing. He's coming? Your friend is coming from there? No.
You want to try it?
No. Sorry.
Even if you started with wine, that would cover any other drinks.
If you decided you finished the wine, yes.
One wine and then you can drink the other things.
Yes, but if you decided you finished drinking everything, including the wine, then yes, then you're finished. Because this principle that you're going to go from one to another, and even if you think you're finished, you're not finished, is not true about drinks, including wine. Huh? So with me. Gary? Should we break from Erev?
Well, let me check first.
I feel bad because I started having a 10, we started having Kavua 10, but I don't know if we're going to make it today. Shvacha Oilam. I know, they tell me. Even with 2, I don't know. Okay. We continue and we say, I feel like I'm really with favors. You know what, before I continue, I want to just give you a little introduction. That is as follows. No, the intro, we'll leave out the intro. Here we go. I feel like I'm really with favors. Even if he did not distinctly decide to stop drinking, if a person says, let's bench, if we have a minyan, we'll do our minyan. We usually do it at 10, but it doesn't look very promising, so we'll break now if we get a minyan.
So what are you learning?
Birchos Hanehenin.
Should be nana from Birchos Hanehenin.
Baruch Hashem, we have some brachas if you want to be nana.
Oh.
So
I'm all Baruch crowds.
the kitzer, the point is that if a person says, let's bench, those days they used to bench on a cup. He says, Tinu kos, pass a cup. Let's get a cup and let's bench. Yeah, but we usually do a minyan at 10. Hey, two more, no, two. We usually do Ma'ariv at 10, but we're not going to have a minyan, so if we could. Two more. Okay, everybody, so we're going to take a little break from Ma'ariv. I apologize, and we'll continue in a few minutes. It's a shame. Citron, Arya Citron.
Oh, okay, Arya Bloom. I think, are you related to Naftali?
Yeah, my brother.
His brother, okay, you have the same ponim. Okay.
You know?
My parents lived here when he's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Wait, where's he now? The car wash?
Yeah.
Now, how's he faring? Good.
Honorable.
Oh. Nice, and regards to Arya Bloom.
Okay, yes.
Ready?
Yes.
Go up and
Thank you.
אדוני לא יחל אמת. שומר ישראל לכנו שיהיה אני גם אומר יהיה שומר מצלנו אתה ברוך אתה שומר את ישראל אתה בקדש שנראה מה ידע לך יותר ואני חוקר לעצמך כבר משולך דרך חי ספון ובהם כל ישראל והקלה בזמן קריב יש
אמרתי כדאי שנראית לה, אמרתי כדאי כדי לפנות לעצמם, לקרב את המשפט, לך יכול, כולם יכול, היה לבוא ישראל ולא, בזמן חריג, יתנו אמן.
אמן, יש לי רבה,
יש רבה רבים שמעלה, ישראל דיברו אמן. עושה שלום במורא, עושה שלום במורא ישראל דיברו אמן. עלינו שבח. Amen.
Principal of Hesech Hada. Okay. All right, Rabbi Isai, where did everybody go? Hello.
I'm here.
I see you. And where did everybody else go? Shkoyach for coming. Thank you. I didn't mean to finish the shir. Let me just post on the chat that we're back.
Maybe send everybody an email or a text to say we're back on.
I just sent a text.
We can ask them. We can have a class in that room, always much quiet.
Look at
This is
this.
our place. There's no AC over there. This is our place. This is our place.
AC.
No AC.
No AC?
No, not like this one. It's not like this.
AC. He didn't say exit, he said AC.
Sometimes if it's noise here, we go into the
But that room is always farther from here. And it's like isolated from everything else. And you come here, you change the
I think he's mistaken. The coffee over there, everybody is talking over there. Here it's quiet in the corner. Sometimes they have a party here. We're going over there. But we do it for
What's tomorrow? Oh, the security. Let me ask them.
It's the same air condition. You come
Yes,
to switch it.
this one is same.
You change it here, you get the same air over there.
It's all shared the same.
The noise
Let me
is
ask
also the same.
Let me ask them.
It's not the same.
Did you see how much stuff is over there?
They could switch it.
They will not switch it.
Let me ask them. Nothing to lose by asking.
I don't consider it.
I don't see how the temperature works.
They study here already. The kids study here. That's why they get down. We study around here.
Chaim, we'll discuss all discussions at another time. Chaim.
I have all this.
Because they're quiet now.
It's even colder than here. It's even colder here than close the door. I already know. I can tell. Close to see it.
Rabbi, you cannot. They give us here because the
Tuesday
kids-
nights they have the security thing here, shouting. Every 2 weeks.
I'm gonna teach you one thing for both of you. 1 second.
Okay.
I'm gonna teach you one
Okay,
thing
forget
for both of you. Is a study kids here. They give us here because it's already studied here. This is a storage for them.
Okay.
You cannot
Shalom,
change all the
shalom,
syllabus
shalom.
because-
Never mind.
Why is it?
Because there's another door like this in that room.
Two.
Noise pollution. Okay, Rabbi Say, we're continuing.
Two doors. One from
We're continuing. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. A person who said, "Come and let's bench," is a Hesech Hada from drinking.
Why would it be Hesech Hada? Oh, because it's soup.
If he decides to go back to his eating, he can eat without a bracha, no problem. If as a result of his present eating, he becomes thirsty, he drinks without a bracha, because that's connected to what he's eating now. And that was our schadas for the eating now. But if he decided to go back to eating, but he's still thirsty from his first meal, on the drink he has to bench. He has to make a bracha. On the not a bracha. Like any foods that he has during a meal are covered by benching, even if they need their own bracha rishon. Now here's another chiddush. A person decides he doesn't want to eat anymore. He even says, let's bench. He even says, bring a cup and we're going to bench. And then he changes his mind, but he doesn't want to eat any bread. He wants to have some more dessert.
They brought cake.
Cake. Not they brought. You can't say they brought. As soon as you say they brought, you're talking about a suda with a balabayit. Where there's a balabayit, then even if he decides he's going to bench, batlada
So it's his home.
it's his home, exactly.
His wife
It's his
brought
home.
also.
If his wife is in charge of the meal and she brought, then she's the balabayit,
She's-
balatabayit. But if he is serving himself, he's the balabayit, whatever. So the point is, even though he's not eating bread, so you might say, well, he's finished the bread, and the whole point is that the foods are tuffle to the bread. Now that he's finished bread and he didn't change his mind about the bread, he's not planning to go back and eat bread. All he's eating is dessert. No, nevertheless, his Hesech Hadas from those things is not considered Hesech Hadas. So therefore, he's still covered. Drink is the only exception. But if he decided he's finished, and then he wants to only drink more, based on his previous thirst, then he has to make a bracha. Whether it was just in his thoughts that he decided he's finished, or if he actually said it, either one. This is all the opinion of Rabbeinu Yoina. Now we learn the opinion of the Rosh. Some say there is no difference between eating and drinking. Even by eating. Even a permanent meal. If he changed his mind and decided not to eat anymore, so then he changed his mind, he wants to eat bread or other things. So he has to make another bracha. Well, again, now the Alter doesn't spell out whether it's with saying let's bench, saying let's get a cup, because it actually doesn't make a difference. According to the Rosh, this concept that a person goes from a small meal to a big meal is not correct. He does not hold to that. And even during a meal, a Hesech Hadas is a Hesech Hadas. You decided you're finished, you're finished. You decided in advance you're eating only a small amount, like we said before. Even if the food is in the house, that's okay. You can decide that. And any later decision is going to be a new bracha. This is the opinion of the Rosh. So you might find yourself in a situation where you have a machlokes. You decided you're finished eating. Now you want to eat more. You change your mind. So according to the Rosh, you have to make another bracha. And the Rebbeinu Yoina, you don't have to. And of course, if you don't have to, you're not allowed to. So what do? Toiv lachush ledevreim shleilachs v'lechol klal. The best is to actually not eat anything at all. Not to eat without a bracha, which is a safek brachas lakal. That you could do. Alter says that right now. You cannot eat with a bracha, because that's a bracha l'vatal. You could, he doesn't spell it out, but you could eat without a bracha, because it's a safek brachas lakal. Or into the Rebbeinu Yoina, you don't have to make another bracha. No bracha, fine. But if you want to be choishish for the pain of the rush, you will simply follow through on your decision not to eat anymore, and you'll bench right then and there. Questions? No. The Alter Rebbe says to the Iker halacha is like the first opinion, but toiv lachush. Whenever it says toiv, it means it's a good thing. It's not the Iker adin. So by the letter of the law, you could continue eating without a bracha, but it's a good thing to go back. To actually finish eating and not eat anymore, because that way you fulfill also the opinion of the Rosh. Now, I did see in this forum that Shir HaMalos is not counted as a Hesech Hadas. Shir HaMalos b'Shur. That would be like a classic example. You would think of Hesech Hadas, like Shir HaMalos. You finished eating? No, the poskim say Shir HaMalos. No, not necessarily. Sometimes you say Shir HaMalos and you decide that you want to eat something. Now, if when you said Shir HaMalos, you actually thought, I'm finished, you actually consciously thought, I'm finished eating, well, that, according to the Rosh, is enough, even without saying Shir HaMalos. Just the decision that you're finished eating is enough, according to the Rosh. So therefore, that would, once again, be a situation of doubt.
Everybody that Shir HaMalos is completely finished.
No.
No, really?
No, sometimes you change your mind. You didn't notice there was another dessert at the end. It happens. It happens to me.
So then what to say, change your mind or eating and then you're gonna bench. You don't say Shir HaMalos again.
I mean, Shir HaMalos is like a minhag. It's not a problem to say it again, but can't say it's a chiyuv. Not a chiyuv. Okay, we continue with number 4, and we say, אבל הם not לקויס ביד הדבר בחסם מאזין, בשביל נדיע לו וגם ליום מתחיל לתנו קויס הדבר בחסם מאזין, איזה סילוק והסך הדס לגמרי לדבר הכל, אפילו מהאכילה, צריך לעשות לדבר לדבר הכל. Okay, listen carefully, my friends. If you did an action to indicate that you're finished, what's the action? He gives one example here. He's going to give another example in the next halacha. The example he gives here is if you pick up the kois for benching. You actually pick up the kois. That action of picking up the cup, everybody agrees is Hesech Hadas.
Personal people will go for everybody.
For the wine?
Everybody, because the Baal Habayis is usually.
If I don't want to eat.
Oh, then you're not. Then you're not. No, then you're not. If you decide that you're not going with the Baal Habayis, you're benching separately, that's fine. You can opt out. But usually people go with the Baal Habayis. He's going to discuss it later. If you want to opt out, you can opt out. No problem. Okay. Now, let's say after you lifted the cup, change your mind. Change your mind. Alter says, directly you have to make another bracha. It's no problem. You don't have to bench right away. Just because you said, let's bench. You took a cup, you picked it up. Oh, okay, I won't. I'll bench later. But you have to make a bracha. Now here comes Chiddush number 2. Amazing Chiddush. Gam bracha achroina tzarich levarach asher advarim aboyim machmas asuda kodim brachas hamazon shekasuda acheres yikivon shesilik da'atem me'apas. Wow. This is a Chiddush which needs a big introduction. You guys ready? In the olden days, they had something, they had a system where at the end of their meal, they would take away their tables. Because they used to have little tables. Like we read about by the Haggadah, take away the table, bring back the table, blah, blah, blah. So they would have these little tables. They would recline on couches with little tables, take away the tables. At the end of the meal, they would literally take away the tables and they would serve like desserts, but no more bread. So because there was no more bread, it was impossible. You couldn't get bread. I mean, the waiters didn't serve bread. They had packed it up. That's it. Finished. No more bread. So at that time, the desserts, not only did they need a bracha rishoina, they needed a bracha achroina. Because they're not considered to be eaten as part of the meal. It's like the bread meal is over. Nowadays, we don't have this halacha anymore. Because even if we decide that we're finished eating bread, and even if we take all the bread off the table, we're physically eating at the same table. I mean, the table is still there. I don't think it makes a difference. Lemaisa, the shaila that has been brought up about this is if you're at a chasana and they finish the bread, they take it out, they bring in the Viennese table, and they take away your table for dancing. Begashmis, they pick it up, they move it out of the way, make room for the dance floor. That's a shaila that is asked. The Maisa, I don't think we say another bracha anyway. I don't think this is, I don't know why, but Apisvara, Lachur, if they actually take away the table, you should have to make a bracha or shana and achron on dessert. But Lamaisa, I don't think it's the minhag. But here's a case where we can apply that halacha. You picked up the cup. That is considered Hesech Hada. You're not going to eat bread, and unless you make a bracha on bread, you're not allowed to eat bread. So now you're in a complete siluk from bread. Now, if you change your mind, you want to eat bread, make hamoitzi, wash your hands. It's going to say later, wash your hands, make up moitzi, and then, of course, you're covered with all the side dishes as well, because it's like you started another meal. The one Birchos Hamazon is going to cover both meals, no problem. But let's say you're not going to eat you don't want to eat hamoitzi. You want to have more desserts. So the hamoitzi is expired. You cannot eat bread right now because you're not saying another hamoitzi. So it's like siluk yadayim and apas, mamish. You would have to make a bracha rishoina and achroina on those desserts. Before benching. It's a big chiddush. Big chiddush, but that's the halacha. So, and I will also share with you the Mishnah Berurah's opinion, which is that in this case, you're actually supposed to bench right away. The Mishnah Berurah holds. Yeah. The cup too, or just the water?
All the cup. No, I give you a new one.
What's wrong with this one?
This is from over there.
What's up, Shana?
Shana?
They're called Mayim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Huh?
Okay. So the point is, my friends, that Mishnah Berurah holds, once you pick up the cup, it's like you're makabel on yourself to do a mitzvah. It's like you pick up your tefillin. You're not supposed to put them down and put on your talis. Shal Yad and Shal Rosh is something else. Exactly. It's like you almost started the mitzvah. So the Mishnah Berurah says you have to finish.
I thought it was Mitzat Safek. Why would you get to something so Safek?
No, I don't think so. I think the Mishnah Berurah is that if you would not bench, you would have to make a bracha. It's not a safek brachas, but it's rather.
The advice would be don't eat dessert.
Right. No, I don't think that's why. I think it's because it's like a chiv. It's like you were makabel on yourself to bench. And not liyad my machrayim. If you washed my machrayim. Here's another example of doing a maisa, or doing an action that shows you on a bench. Even though you did not lift up the cup, is a silik Hesech Hada lagamri. That is a complete removal of your mind. You have to make another bracha according to all opinions. The truth is that even with the bracha, you're not allowed to eat and drink because it's a hefsek. When you wash my achronim, you're not allowed to interrupt between my achronim and benching. So if you go back and eat something else, you're going to be making a hefsek. Unless you want to wash another mayim achronim. So then your second mayim achronim is going to be your real mayim achronim. You're not going to interrupt, between those mayim achronim and benching. The first mayim achronim retroactively turn into what is called mayim emtsoyim, or whatever. These courses, but or whatever. It's just washing. It becomes nothing. Sorry. Between fish or fish and meat. Interesting. People do it?
I do it.
Oh, yeah?
It says to do it.
Nice.
My fish.
In fish and meat, to wash the hands, so you shouldn't have.
Some does that. You do that?
שמעתי על מישהו שעושה. But for sure with the rock. That's what he's saying.
But if you don't touch the fish,
If
you don't touch the fish, you don't need to wash the hair, right?
The pashtus, you shouldn't have to because you didn't touch it, but some say you should.
Also, if you don't touch the fish. Unless if you to put it and stuff like that.
If you didn't touch your bread.
You give.
Yes, you don't have funny.
I'm not touching the bread. I'm eating the bread, so I'm not sick. It's different. It's different. You're talking about it.
No, my friend. You do my friend if you didn't touch your bread.
No, friends,
You did the same one?
you're talking about something else.
No, we did same.
To wash the head after a fish, it's like mayim achronim. I don't think so.
Sure.
The more machmirim in the mayim achronim, Rabbi, right? The mayim achronim is more machmir than the wash.
It's not what you're saying. Sure, more not.
Where about Simon? Coffee.
Like what?
You say almost like.
Saying instead of mine in front of you, one further step. You already started the Zimmer.
Sure. Are you allowed to change? Was that what you meant?
Yeah. I'd say I start saying Zimun, and you guys are like, whoa, I don't want to do a Zimun. So am I allowed to?
It's too late.
Am I allowed to?
He's in the room, Rabbi.
That's an interesting question. Well, presumably you already washed my machonim, so what's the question?
So you do.
A person who doesn't or who didn't wash my machonim. 1 second, please.
Every day you change your secret, Rabbi.
My kids are always getting into my phone. I have to change it.
It's very sharp to remember all that.
Okay, what's the story? So you're asking if zimun is the same as washing my machrein. It's interesting, Shaila.
Why wouldn't it be the same thing as this?
As what?
No?
Because it's not a maisa.
the Dibur and all that.
I mean, before we said if you say Tenu Koisun Avarech, it's not a Maisa till you lift up the cup. So I mean, you didn't say, what did you say, Rabbi Sai Navarech, right?
Nowadays that means no.
I know it means it, but is it more than thinking it? Is it more than saying let's bench? Rabbi Sai Navarech, it's just Hebrew for let's bench.
No. If I say, guys, let's bench, it's not official. I don't know what the voice in the bar or voice in the bench.
I understand, but if you,
That's a real thing nowadays.
that's a real thing. It's a real dibur. It's not a real Maisa.
So we said, I'm not really caught up.
A dibur lechura.
Dibur so far we said
Everything that's dibur is a machlekes. Rabbeinu Yoina says you can change your mind because people change their mind. Hayasuda.
Didn't we just say about Nimlach 2 seconds ago?
That's nimlach. That's nimlach. Rabbeinu Yoina says nimlach in dibur, in thought or in dibur is the same thing. Mais is the only thing that you have to make another bracha. According to Rabbeinu Yoina, whether it's machshav.
Who says that Nimlach is?
The Rosh. The Rosh says Nimlach has to make another bracha. So for sure, even without saying so Rosh Lakal, you can't make another bracha, but it's better to bench. Stop there because according to the Rosh, you should make another bracha.
What's the meaning of
Oh, Shinadato.
okay.
So I'm gonna guess that saying Arbais and Navarach is not the same as washing Amachayim. If you said, however, Navarach Shachalna Mishaloi, that's already the mamish the simun. I don't know if you're allowed to stop at that point because that's like already the beginning of benching almost. You know what I'm saying? That's like Navarach Shachalna Mishaloi. You're saying that's the nusach of.
Like Dibur to me.
It's dibur of benching. It's not dibur of preparing for benching. Rabbi Navarech is a minute. You don't have to say that. It's just be Kabbalah. You're supposed to prepare before a mitzvah, so that's what it's about. But the nusach of zimun is already part of the takana of Chazal to be able to bench. When you have 3 people, that's a chiyuv to say. You know what I'm saying? That's already part of the standard text of the grace after meals. So that I think is already for sure.
We said,
For sure.
Baruch she'achanu asusim baruch. We said baruch no?
I'm sorry, Obam.
When we said baruch she'achanu,
Yeah,
this is also part of baruch she'achanu.
that's the response. Varech is the she'ela and Baruch is the response. Let me just see what he says here in the V'zei Bracha.
So if the people did not answer, they did not accept himself. No, yet they can change his mind, or it's too late. Or he's talking about only the Chazan. When he said, "Nevarach she'achalnu mishelo," and the Kaal did not answer, so they can change their mind.
They can change their mind, yeah. They can change their mind. It's an interesting question, honestly. I don't know. I must say I'm not 100% clear on this question. If you said Rabbi Sai or if you said Nevarech, my inclination is that Rabbi Sai is not more than Nimlach and Nevarech is.
Finish it.
Sitting on the table, push the table away. Guys in bench. The real way.
There's an option to fast forward.
It's shortly.
You must
Sitting on the rubber.
have
No. 2 minutes. I did it on fast. I was reminded when I was thinking of taking the video, so.
Havu Navarech. Chashuv Gemara Suda V'chlas. So Havlon V'Nivrach, which is the unofficial part of benching. Shomeh? Havlon V'Nivrach, which is part of the unofficial, it's not the Zimun. The Mishnah Berurah says that's part of the Machlokes. That's part of the Machlokes. According to the Rosh, that's a Hefsek, according to Ben Yehuda, not. So that's exactly. But the next part he doesn't say, but I don't see it discussed here, but my belief would be that it is. I mean, Lamaisa.
Well, it's a Gemara.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that seems clear. Okay, let's continue.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah. Notes, you keep notes?
I have a recorder.
Okay, even better. Okay, so here's the thing, Rabbi Isai. If you read the Alter Rebbe without anything else, you would think that it's no problem to stop after washing my Hanehenin and go back to eating, and then wash a second time later. That's what it seems.
And wash the what?
And wash a second time my Hanehenin later. And the first washing becomes just a cleanliness thing. You would think it's lechatchila. Actually, it's not. The Alter Rebbe himself says in the Shulchan Aruch, the other poskim say also, that some say that takef the netila bracha, that's what it's about, taking netila bracha. As soon as you wash, you have to make the bracha, meaning to say you have to bench. Some say that means you have to. You have to. Just like we said before in the Mishnah Berurah, that when you lift up the cup, you have to. So they say once you washed, you have a chiyuv to bench right away. You're not allowed to say, okay, I'm going to talk, I'm going to eat, and then I'll wash a second time later. No. They say you're not allowed to do that. Now, lachatchila, the Alter Rebbe says you should actually bench. But the Ikar Hadin, you could do this eitzah of washing a second time. So here, if you notice the wording of the Alter Rebbe, he doesn't say you're allowed to do this. All he says is that you're not allowed to continue eating and drinking because of the hefsek, unless you want to wash again. He doesn't say you're allowed to do that. Is you're not allowed to unless you want to wash again. Elim ken roitza lachzer with little ma'amachar machachlis. Someone was on. Elim ken roitza lachzer. That's the lashon. At the end of Hey, ein rishai lechav le'lishtres b'shem hefsek. Elim ken roitza lachzer little ma'amachar machachlis. Then he leaves it blank, like dot. Then you continue eating. It's like understood. He's saying that.
That's about regular food.
Regular food, yeah. With the bracha. Right? You'd be able to, but it's like a mashmos. It's not 100% clear. He's implying that, but he doesn't say it clearly. And the fact is that it's not lechatchila mamash. The mashmos says that it is, but he doesn't say it clearly. It sounds like it. Sounds like it. But he's leaving out a lechatchila opinion.
You would say, somebody walks in with a birthday. Like that. So, you know what? Let's finish with it.
So for sure you can't eat it without a bracha. For sure you can't eat it without a bracha. But whether or not you can eat it with a bracha is a machlokes. It's better to actually bench and then have a zaynas and alamichi afterwards.
I'm saying it's like when you wash it before like if there's an interruption, and there are a lot, so I don't know exactly the details, but sometimes something related to the mochi, it's not an interruption. So
Yeah.
But if something happens and interrupt, then you have to wash again.
Depending, I mean, depends what level of interruption.
So translate this to minor.
Absolutely, yeah. If you wash Hanehenin and then something interrupted, you have to wash again.
To bring
regardless of whether you should or shouldn't have, but if it happened, to wash again.
To ask salt for the bread, it's interrupt or not? It's a part, right?
B'chol makom is an important point. B'chol makom sh'tzarich lachzor l'varach ha'motzim sh'mes chadas, tzarich lachzor lit l'yad l'koreh b'achilas pas. Any time that you have to make another hamotzi, you also have to wash your hands because you had a Hesech Hadas. Once you had a Hesech Hadas, it's like the meal is over. You have to make another washing.
So if the kids speak and after washing, I tell them to go wash again.
Chumrah, it's a chumrah. That will make anything.
So leave them alone. So they will not.
כמה מילים, אם עשו הפסק גדול, כן, עשו לשחק או משהו. אבל סתם כמה מילים, לא צריך. המים האחרונים אין המועילים לי. אפילו נותן קורא לאכילס פס, אבל אני נזכר לאכילס פס. Let's say you washed מים האחרונים, and then you immediately decided I want to continue eating. So why can't your מים האחרונים count? No. Because you have to wash, when you wash bread, you have to wash with kavanah for bread. You can't wash with kavanah for something else. Say, oh, I just washed from the bathroom. Let that count for my bread. No. When you wash for bread, you have to have kavanah that it's for bread. So, same thing here. No, usually you don't do the shear, you don't do the whole finger. But even if you did, that's what he says. Even if you had a keli, you had a revius, you washed all your whole finger, no, it's not going to help because you have to have a kavanah. And now that you had a Hesech Hadas, you have to wash. So you wash properly. It's not good. Yeah.
Well, someone washed for today, the bathroom, sorry, and then he immediately after he's finished washing, someone offered him a large amount of bread to eat a large. So does he going to do the Tzilas Yadayim with bracha?
With a bracha.
So I remember seeing once, I forgot who spoke about this, it could have been like the daily halacha when I remember it. Because your hands are clean, you wouldn't make a bracha. You only wash if you only wash with a bracha if your hands are suffering, or like you just don't know that your hands are not clean. You don't know that your hands are
No, but really, not clear to me at all. If you knew before you washed after the bathroom, then there's whole big machlekes about it. Very complicated. But if you didn't know, as far as I know, you're not yotza, because washing for cleanliness.
No. The question isn't should you make Tzilas Yadayim. You do Tzilas Yadayim. The question is
I was under the understanding that you're not yotza, therefore you have to wash
We
it.
started a long time ago.
Or I also saw a situation. I also saw a situation where a person washed his hands with soap and water. Then I think it was the same child. Then wanted to do it for meaning they come on the Tzilas Yadayim for bread. So he said also.
That's a big chiddush, because washing soap and water, you're not yotza b'chlal. It's not a keli.
From what I remember, I wish I remember when I saw this. Bring it up. The idea is that since your hands were clean, so you don't make the Tzilas Yadayim.
What do you mean clean? I mean, they're not ritually clean. They're clean, but not ritually clean. You know what I'm saying?
Technically, if you put your hands over to the bathroom, put your hands underneath the faucet even once.
Okay, in other words, if you take on that maybe the pipes are keli, is that what you mean?
Right.
Okay, that's another thing. That's a svara. That's a svara. I don't know, Tzilas Yadayim is a big area. I'm not going to find it so quickly. Not sure.
We cannot mix נטילת ידיים של יצר להוציא. You have to first show
מאוד
יצר.
סבוך, מאוד מסובך.
Finish the show יצר with the נטילת ידיים, and then you dry it, and then you
זה מסובך.
think something,
אחר.
שינוי or something like that.
פעם אחר, נגיע. It's
We
a bit
talked about that.
complicated. Could be we did. Okay, my friends. In Baal HaSuda, if the Baal HaBayis says, let's bench, nobody else is allowed to drink without a bracha.
us to drink?
Remember, this is,
Or is it mutter to drink, just get to make a bracha? Or is it preferable not to drink?
no, it's mutter to drink with the bracha. See, food is a machlokes, but drink, everybody agrees, it has chadas. Food, according to the Rosh, it has chadas. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not. But drink, you can make a bracha. Everybody agrees it's a hefsek. Ushashasku is kimel drav. This is what you're asking before, Emmanuel. This is only if they agreed. He said, let's bench. He's the balabais. They were quiet. That means they're makabel. Then they have to make other brachas and drinks. And according to some on food also, depending on the opinion. Now, if one of the people in the group, besides the balabais, says, let's bench, that he doesn't really mean it. Even for himself, he doesn't mean it. He means a suggestion to the balabais. Perhaps we can bench. He's not going to have the chutzpah to bench without the permission of the balabais. He's suggesting to the balabais, 1 second, that he should bench. Since the balabais did not agree, and he did not make es chadas, he also doesn't make es chadas, because he's really going in with the balabais.
That's what's happening with the smachot and the synagogue and priests or the smachot. Suggest let's bench. And the balabait for the smachot, he is the.
He decides if he wants and not want, maybe a speech or whatever. Yeah.
Or if you have a shul, say that
a balabais is still a balabais. A chashav rav is a chashav rav, but he's still not the balabais. Maybe the balabais has another dish that he wants to serve the chashav rav. Even chashav rabbanim are allowed to eat. It's not it's a different thing. The getter balabais is something that is different from being a rav. It's a different thing. It's a different. It's not about authority. It's a different realm of authority. He's in charge of the meal. The rav is in charge of halacha. That's fine, but he's in charge of the meal.
Even if he gives them the position of eating everything.
Okay, I guess if he gives him the position, he could give the position to anybody. Doesn't have to be a rav though, but yeah. If you make somebody in your house, tell them you're running the show, okay, that's something else. But a kohen, you honor him to bench, but he doesn't decide when to bench. I'm just saying, if you gave him that authority, I mean, you could, but it's not the way it's normally done. I learned this from Rav Deitch, my Rosh Kollel, in a different way completely. When he came to my house, probably 17 years ago, and we came to the front door, and I honored him to walk inside first. I said, no, the balabais goes in first. And it's actually a brisa in like Masechta Derech Eretz or something, that the balabais walks in first, and he refused to walk in before me. And I mean, we didn't discuss it really, but I mean, his point is, no matter who the rav is, he's not the balabais. That's the fact. And the rav is the rav, the balabais is the balabais. So that's what happened.
For the balabait, for the areach, you're going to be chashiv to just walk in, I get. But if the balabait is asking the areach, please walk in, please go ahead of me. Maybe.
Or where is he going? Right, left, straight. It's better after the balabait.
Maybe that's a svara. Maybe that's a svara of the brisa. The balabais should walk in first to see how he can assist the areach in coming in and finding his way. Otherwise, he walks into the house, he doesn't know anybody, doesn't know anything. It's like, what am I doing here?
The bedroom?
It's proper that he should be escorted in. I'm just saying, no, he has a point. He has a point. That could be the svara. That could be the svara. I'm not sure. The vase balabais lechem min peiros. So too, if people are called to the house of the balabais to eat types of fruit. Afal pi. Even though they bring them one after the other. In other words, they're not all on the table. They're serving snacks. So one snack and then another snack. He only has to make a bracha on the first course. You You don't know how many courses of these snacks you're getting. Because you have in your mind that whatever they bring is included. If somebody was not invited, you're having a party, and somebody comes because he's a delivery guy. He's delivering the food or whatever, and you invite him, come have something to eat. And he came in temporarily. And the people who are there give him something to eat, a cup of wine, some fruit or whatever. He has to make a bracha on everything he gets, because doesn't really belong there. Everything he gets is a chiddush. Everything he gets, even if it's the same exact food, and it's the same exact bracha, and it was in front of him, because he didn't expect it, he has to make another bracha. If he already made a bracha on the cup when they gave him the second cup, even there was some of the cup left. Nowadays, it is customary that even if somebody who comes in and is not invited is given plenty, not just one, but people give him plenty. So in such a case, they would not make a bracha except in the first case.
If they're giving a plate full of stuff. What about the security, Jewish security? He came over. So everybody giving every blessing, different blessing, you will bless?
So, I mean, based on the end here, it seems like if it's a normal thing that people give him stuff, then once he makes the first bracha, he's covered. All right, we're almost finished the parak, but the next one is an important separate discussion, and it's about the shear equal, the shear of how long it takes for food to digest, and how long you have to make your bracha achrona. And I have to prepare that properly to share it with you. So, Mitzvah Hashem, we'll get to it tomorrow night.
Can I ask a question?
I apologize for that break from Meyer. Hopefully, we'll get back on track for 10 o'clock tomorrow night.
Rabbi, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, please.
If I'm eating a meal with like a drink, but the drink I plan to have for like a longer period of time, let's say for like the next hour, but I finished my meal, how would I go about that?
Interesting question. Was it a bread meal?
No, it was like a burn nefashis food or whatever.
Interesting question. You had a bar nefashis meal, and you're eating a drink. You're nursing a drink from that meal. Little by little, and it's going to take you an hour because it's a big cup. Can you delay saying the bracha until afterwards? I don't see any reason why not, as long as you're constantly drinking.
But also, it's like a drink that I would take, let's say, in the car. Like I'm going to eat in my house, but then I'm going to take it in the car. Like let's say it's a coffee or it's a water bottle or it's like a seltzer or something.
Water bottle, I'm not so sure of, because water bottle, if you're not drinking it out of thirst, doesn't really need a bracha. I don't know if you should delay the bar nefashos for that sort of thing. If it's a coffee, interesting shaila. In general, you're going to have to make another bracha rishona, you realize. Whenever you change location with the bar nefashos food, you're going to have to make a bracha rishona. But usually you don't make a bracha achrona until you've finished the bar nefashos food. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay.
Maybe we'll touch on it tomorrow if we're able to.
Okay.
Are we doing chapter 6 tomorrow, or is it a different topic?
Are we doing what, sorry?
Is it chapter 6 tomorrow?
No, we're going to finish chapter 5 and start chapter 6 in Mitzvah Hashem.
Okay.
Moving right along.
I might not be able to make it tomorrow, so please make sure you record.
Yeah, Mitzvah Hashem. Mitzvah Hashem, that's
Okay.
the good one. Okay. All the best.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a good night.
Good night.
Pleasure. Good night.
Good night.